Good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful Monday blessings to you all. And we're back.
Yes, we are back. It honestly, I was thinking yesterday, it feels like it's been so long since we've been here with you all, but I think we only had the 1 week. I think
Yeah, so it's
just the one
been
week.
it's only been 1 week, but it feels like forever. We missed all of you.
No, I really, really did.
Oh,
Looks like we are definitely here with you all.
great.
Awesome.
What a fun topic this morning. Heather, will you tell us about our Monday mini training?
I would love to. Crystal and I have actually been talking a lot recently about structure in business and about feminine flow and sort of that like goddess energy that I think we all have kind of talked about like striving for. And I specifically wanted to address and talk about maybe the ideal that we talk about a lot and that we see as entrepreneurs. And this is something that I think is also it's also a goal. And this is why we want to be entrepreneurs. And that's the things like when you think about the way you want your life to look, and the way that a lot of I feel like entrepreneurs, especially in this group, want their lives to look is being able to travel, having space in their lives to do the things they want to do, being able to work when you want to work, instead of having to abide by the structure of someone else's day. I think that those are all reasons why I know it's the reason why I wanted to do what I do. I believe that some of that is also Crystal's vision for her life as well.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in a lot of ways that's our vision, that's our dream. And it's also the pretty side of being an entrepreneur. And a lot of the time, especially when you're following other people and you see what they're doing and you look at their Instagram pages, and it's here I am with my computer and I'm, sipping like a little mocktail and I'm in Thailand. It looks so beautiful and wonderful. And how do we get there? Because it's not just a necessarily, well, this is what I'm going to do, and so now I'm going to start doing it all the time. This is the way that my life looks now. It's not necessarily about there, because in order to get to that point, there is structure that needs to be put into place. And that's what we want to talk about today, is the structure in your business, and specifically what that looks like when you're thinking about what it is that you want in your life, and looking at it in terms of procrastination, divine timing, or perfectionism.
Mm,
So, Crystal, you want to take it away for us? Tell us a little bit more about
yeah.
structure in business.
Yes, that's so true. And I so echo. I'm just going to echo back to you on the vision of life, and I'll get into it at the end. I'll share my story of just my process in business, also as well, and like where I started, and then I wouldn't say where I ended up because we're always on the journey.
Yeah.
So I'll share that later. But I would definitely say, I think when I first started, though, this idea of it was all going to be just so flowy. And so, like, if anything kind of felt like more work, or there was like deadlines or like any structure around things, then I would just be like, well, it's obviously not right. My intuition, divine timing, spirit, then, I must not be in the right, this must just not be the right time for me. So, like, I'm just going to put it away and I'm just going to be in manifestation mode, not really realizing that part of manifestation is having your actions also align with your desires. And instead, I would sit there and I'd be like, well, money's going to flow with me. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being in manifestation and being in flow, but I would just only ever be in flow because I come from a very structured accounting background, and I was so tired of it, like this like 9 to 5 type situation. And it's like, it's accounting. So like, I mean, it is all masculine, pretty much energy within that, right? You have to have structures in order for your debits and credits and everything to really line up.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I started getting into this, I was like, I saw all these pictures and I was like, oh yeah, like everybody's like, yeah, I'm just going to let it flow to, flow to me. And I also had this coach at the time who was all about flow, but I looked at her business and I was like, she's actually really not doing that well. Like like she'd be like, yeah, I just kind of, and I'd be like, okay, but you're not getting the clients you need. Like I also knew her, she was a friend. I was like, okay, something's not right here. And finally I was like, I think I'm going to have to actually put some like, I wouldn't say hard work, but I'm going to have to like do a little hustle. I don't know really what that word is that I would like to use for that, but I'm going to have some more structure. I didn't really have that word at the time. And so I really realized that because I've seen it too, like working with clients in this way is like this hesitation to put structures into place. And Heather and I were talking about that, how that shows up as like, is it actually procrastination? Using divine timing, I'm going to be bold here, as an excuse for procrastination, as like, putting something off. And I have done this. Heather's watched me do this. And sometimes there is a reason we don't get something done, right? Because it doesn't feel right. And we're trying to push ourselves. Now that's different. So I want to set that aside. But I think there's also for instance, I'll use this example for all of you. How many here have completed your freebie that you started 1, 2, or 3 months ago? How many of you have finished that? Right. And so like thinking about that, have I been consistently waiting for it to take shape, for the timing to be right, or being like, yeah, it just feels like a little off, or, I'm just not ready. Right. Like that is like looking at that, because also what I've noticed is this sometimes is a form of perfectionism, like really coming into place of like, well, it's not perfect. Or, we have the fear, like, it's not perfect. What are people going to think? Rather than being like, I have a deadline. I'm going to put around this flow, right? So like I have a container for this beautiful thing that is like that I'm manifesting, that came out of this feminine energy, and I'm going to put it out by this date, even if it's not perfect, even if it's, I'm like a little, like I have these feelings come up, maybe fear of being seen or being vulnerable, but I'm still going to do it. And I would say that is one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in this process, and I've seen other women in the spiritual world learn, is like you have to have those structures. You have to have those, I don't really like to call them deadlines. Maybe it's like a birthing time.
I was gonna say, I also really like the way that you called it a container,
Yeah.
because that to me makes total sense. And I think that sort of this is the way that I think about sort of a more feminine business model, is that you do still have, and I am going to go ahead and call it a deadline, is that you set a date for yourself. You set like I want to have this done by this day. I want to have it completed. And once you have that sort of goal in mind, then the rest of that time is spaciousness.
Yeah.
The rest of that time is where the flow comes in. And so you are able then to be in that space. And I know that me personally, this is where I've been, where I tell myself, I have to get this done by Sunday evening. And then I wake up on Friday morning and it's like, nope, can't. Today's not going to be a day that I'm going to be able to work on it because my brain isn't in that space. And so I'm going to work on it a little bit later. And so I still know that it needs to be done by Sunday, but it allows me to have, again, like that spaciousness and flow within that container. I'm totally visualizing like this adorable little Tupperware right now, that is just all beautiful, like glitter and flow, and just really beautiful energy that gets to show up how and when it wants to. So anyway, thank you for speaking to that. I think that's a really wonderful way to look at it.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I think actually a great example is kids, because Heather, you have kids, and if you walked in to your kids' room and they had everything literally everywhere, so you couldn't step into the room.
You mean every day all the time? Is that?
Yeah, every day all the time.
Yeah.
And then it was just everywhere, and they're like, and you're like, okay, we need to clean up, that way you can walk through the room, that way I can clean. And they were like, yes, but I'm in my flow. This is my flow mom. And okay, that would be probably adorable to hear, right? But
I've
like,
literally heard that though. I seriously have. I tell them, for example, I'm just gonna really quick. I tell them to make their beds, and every single time they tell me, but this is how I like it. This is what feels good to me. It feels wonderful to have my blankets everywhere so that I can make myself a nest. So anyway, I'm just gonna throw that out there. They literally say that. Yeah.
love it. I love it. And then looking at that, like, right. And then that container of like learning how to clean, learning how to care for your things. It's the same thing for like learning how to care for your business so that you get things done. And so like I'll share like my experience that Heather's definitely been with me through. So I went from this very flowy business model and I was making money and it was but you know, I wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but I was like still bringing in some money, but I was all in flow and I was never getting things really complete. And I was just like, this is great. Like I only work like an hour to a day. I have a client, but then I would go through these like, well, then where's all the clients? Like, you know, because I didn't have a marketing plan in place because I thought, well, people that are in flow don't have a plan in place or deadlines.
It just comes.
And it just comes, and realizing that was part of me really rejecting structures and the container that was really going to help my business. And also then I'd put off you know, if it felt hard or difficult or with my freebies or with my actual programs, I just wouldn't finish them. I just would not finish them.
Yeah.
And then I learned like, okay, I need to get my shit together. Like really, I need to do this. And so I started really creating programs and I would stay up and I'd be like, I'm going to complete this. And I'd have that line. And I remember before Heather came in, when I had to learn how to edit things by myself and get them all pretty, it would take me hours. And I remember one time I was launching, I stayed up because I lost everything, I think, and I had to redo it. And I stayed up all night till like 6 a.m. finishing my stuff. And that taught me a very important lesson though, of really being in devotion to my business. And that changed what procrastination really was. It's like, I'm in devotion to the business. And then through all that and like putting structures into place where I still was kind of like rejecting it a bit. And now I really love them. Like, and I see that is, you know, is healthy and helpful to my business. Is then eventually what was I able to do? I was able to then go to Bali, go to, you know, host these retreats and then stay there. Last time I hosted a retreat in Bali, I was able to stay there. I think I stayed there a total of 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
And I was able to work and be, you know, have that pool laptop lifestyle because I had allowed a container to happen so that I could also be in flow. And so I think there's that like line of like, you know, you really have to play with that energy of like be in the flow and also have that masculine container to hold the flow. That's what the masculine is there for. And part of that I think is letting go of perfection also too.
That was the thing I was going to say really quick. I know we have kind of touched on this already here, even in this conversation. And I guess that this is something that I ask myself and that I also encourage other people to ask, which is when you're asking or when you're sort of in that, this is divine timing, it's just not working out. I can't do anything about it because it's obviously not, you know, the right time. I would absolutely ask, because this is what I ask myself is, am I afraid? Am I afraid to put this out? Am I afraid to be seen? Am I afraid to put out something that doesn't feel like it's perfect because it's not ready? I'm not ready. Am I not ready? Is it me? Is it an excuse? And it's not always. I absolutely 100% think that sometimes things are not coming together for like a reason. However, I think it's always good to ask yourself that question.
Yeah. And I'm going to put this out there that ready is a lie.
Yeah.
You're never going to be ready. It's never going to be perfect. I'm going to knock on this again. If you have not put out your freebie that you've been working on for months on end, I'm going to just guess here right now. It's not because of time. It's not because of lack of time to complete it. It's, it's maybe that perfectionism or that fear, the vulnerability of being seen. And last year I worked with a coach and she goes, "Are you a recovering perfectionist?" And I had never thought about myself as a perfectionist because I was like, I put out stuff all the time, which I do not think is perfect. And so she goes, and I was like, oh, oh shit, like I didn't really realize that. And she goes, what is the difference between excellence and perfectionism?
Yes.
And if you're always trying to be in perfectionism, it has to be just right. You're never going to get anything done at all. So
Mm-hmm.
rather, can you just go for thrive for excellence? And that is something, for instance, yesterday I filmed all in one day. I wrote it, the scripts out in one day. I filmed it all in one day because I said, I will have this done by Monday for my assistant, as promised. I filmed 5 videos yesterday in the sweltering heat of my van when it was like 90 degrees in here. And I did it. And I looked and I was watching them last night, editing them very late. And I just was listening to one of them and I was like, ugh. And I was like, like, oh, that wasn't quite what I was going for there. And I was like, but I set the date. I can record a new one later. What matters is that I get it out there and be in consistency and be seen and complete this project like I said I was going to, so that I honor my business. And I think that was like a really good example of that. And I really, part of me still is like, I don't really want to put that out there. Like, I really want to go and re-record it. But I also know like how much time and like it'd be late and like, I don't know,
Yeah.
So,
and also keeping in mind that we are our harshest critics.
yeah,
absolutely 100%. And so, yeah, like putting it out there, like seriously, nobody else is going to notice like 90% of the things that you do. So
yeah. Heather and I had that with our freebie that we put out too. There's a couple little things and we're like, we're not going to go record the whole thing. Consistency, enthusiasm, and passion will always trump perfection because there really is no such thing. And so I think that this really, what we're really inviting you in here to today is to really check in and ask yourself, what am I not completing? Am I not launching? Am I not, getting something out there, whether it be the business all in itself or my freebie or my program, because I'm waiting for it to be perfect or this timing to appear, and yes, there is always divine timing. Heather and I are big believers in this. And also checking like, is this actually, am I really using this? I'm going to use the word excuse, like it like really a resistance because of perfectionism or because of, I fear, vulnerability being seen.
Yeah, 100%. And there's one other thing that I wanted to offer. This is a way that I have begun thinking about the things that I do and that I create. And I hope it might be helpful. So we create, right? This is what we do. We create things. We create freebies. We create ebooks. We create programs. We create even programs for individual clients. And that creation to me is art. It is all art. I see us as artists, entrepreneurial artists. This is how I view the work that we do. And if you think about it, a painting is never done. Never. There is never a point at which a painting or some other piece of art is complete. As far as I know, and with all of the artists that I know, that I talk to, and the way that I even feel about the artwork that I produce, is that there is always one more thing that you could tweak. And not only that, but when you feel complete on something one day, you look at it the next day or 2 days later, and it feels incomplete again, because art is a process. And there will never be a time when you're able to fully 100% say, this is done, I'm complete, it's perfect. Again, because there's no such thing. It's a process and it's a journey. And there is also a point at which, obviously, for example, the Mona Lisa is hanging in a gallery. That means someone not gave up on it, but that it's yeah, it's complete. This is where it is. Like, you put it out. So
put it out.
Exactly.
And especially if you're like, oh, my business isn't, it's not where I want to be. And like, I don't know. It's like, put it out there. Sometimes you just got to get the kick in the butt, and you just have to do it. You just got to get the kick in the butt and put it out there. And you can always revise it later. Like always, like
Yeah.
I've revised my 21-day detox, which is my flagship program. I've had like what 400 people go through. It's a lot of people. And I've looked at my first versions, which were still great, but they are so different because I've had that program and I've revised it like 20 times.
Yeah, at least,
20
yeah.
times, something like that. I mean, like probably like 5 big revisions. No, not even that, because I used to put out as a seasonal one. So look at that. I used to do that as a seasonal. And then we did it a few times over when Heather and I, like Heather worked so, I thank you, Heather. Heather worked so diligently on it with me to put it out as one solid program rather than a seasonal one. And it took like blood, sweat, and tears, and we did it. And I kept having people go through it. And here's also the key. Ooh, this just came through. So that like, as you have people see your stuff, as you have people in your programs, you'll notice what is working well and what doesn't. If you don't actually put it out there to see what's working, you will not have the revisions that you will actually support your business growth. You have to put yourself out there. And it might even be just choosing a niche and being like, well, I don't know. Choose a niche, choose your freebie, choose your program, put it out there. Even if it fails or just doesn't feel right or something, then you go back and you pivot and you're like, oh, what did I learn from that? That is one of the greatest skills in business that you can have, is to be resilient and to pivot.
Yep.
Oh, this is such a juicy
Yep.
conversation of
Yep.
everything that's
Yep.
coming up. And I just want to also acknowledge, good morning, Christine. Good morning, Sherry. And Sherry says, y'all are speaking to me today. Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
Yeah. There's so many points I think that are in business for our spiritual entrepreneurs or women in the wellness industry, because we are so soul-centered and heart-centered. And it can feel like this hesitation. So we want to give you all a kick in the butt today to say, what is it that you maybe have been procrastinating on for whatever reason that may be? Write it down, like make your list of things, and then give yourself a birthing time, birthing line or something. I got to come up with a name. I don't like deadline, but give it like, we're going to come up with a new name. Or if any of you have a great name for it, I'd love to hear it. So give yourself a birthing time for that project. What? Completion date? Yeah.
Completion.
Yeah. Creation, completion, finished project date, whatever that is, put a date on it. And also look at really your calendar and like really look at that and being like, what step am I going to take today? Okay, then what will I do? And then like, if anything, I'm going to also say that sometimes we want to give it all. This is something I've noticed. I know that this is apparent, not with all of us, is simplify it. If it's taking too long, simplify it and cut it down. We had this great conversation actually in the Wild Women Entrepreneurs membership group, is about making things simple. Like just simplify it. People too that are purchasing your programs don't want like all this stuff. They want it simple. They want the answers. If it's a freebie, make it one page, make it one download, make it a simple thing, and then work on your funnel and just be complete with it. And I'm going to take my own advice too. What?
I was to say, and keep your copy. Keep everything that is coming to you, and everything that you want to give. It's just taking little pieces.
Yeah, just take the little pieces and put it all, and then put it in the paid program. Or, maybe it's the paid program that you're having trouble completing, whatever it is. And I'm going to go take my own advice on this, because I have something that's been sitting around, and it was waiting apparently to be birthed, is how I'll put it. And so I have something that I'll be working on that I'm like, yeah, that's been kind of percolating in the back and it hasn't been completed. Plus, when you don't complete things, it takes up mind space. Like it takes up all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you never actually finish getting it out there. So yeah, totally.
Sherry says she likes birthing. Oh, cool.
Good.
Birthing time. When, so we would love to know, what have you been putting off? Share one thing that you've been putting off, right? This is part of accountability too. What are you putting off completing? Sometimes we have to go, okay, yeah, I still haven't finished that. Maybe it's your freebie, maybe it's a funnel, maybe it's a program, maybe it's your niche, choosing a niche, whatever it is. Put it down below and tell us which your birthing date will be for that. What date are you choosing? And also maybe what support you need. What asks do you have from a group? Like, right, that's what we're here for, is to support each other. So maybe you just need feedback. Like
Right.
that's sometimes for me, I'll put off something because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, I guess I could just ask for feedback. Like that's
Yeah.
something I could just do.
Well, and to reiterate, feedback is part of business. It's absolutely 100% part of business, because you don't know like what points you're hitting. You don't know how people are going to respond to the things that you have to offer until you ask. Have to ask.
Oh, we already got one. Christine. Beautiful.
Creating your content
Strategy.
strategy.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
Where is your birthing date? I would love to hear it. Love to hear it. Heather and I are going to be working on some of ours too. I know we have some things we're working on, and it's so helpful when you have accountability.
yeah,
For sure. Great. Love to know what that creating content strategy. That's a fun one.
that is really good. And speaking of accountability, we do have our next working meeting this Thursday.
Great time to get it done.
At 10 a.m. Pacific. Always have to, we're in different time zones. So yes, 10 a.m. Pacific is when we have our working meeting this week. And so if you would like to come and work on it at that point and allow us to, support and be an accountability to each other, that would be an excellent time to do that.
Yeah, great. I'm excited to have our working meetings. I always get a lot done too on them. And then we also have coming up, for those that are in here as well, we also have another call with Lisa Fraley in the Wild Woman, Business Coven, excuse me, in the Business Coven. We have another call with Lisa Fraley because she's freaking fabulous, and she offered us another call to go over disclaimers and privacy policies and things that really need to be completed when people check out, and contracts and all sorts of things. So
yeah, this particular one, she's really gearing towards getting the legal systems in place to get your business really started in a really good way. The last time she was here, we had a lot of Q&A, a lot of questions. This time it's really geared towards, this is what you need to know in order to, and not only know, but this is what you need to have so that you can be in that flow. It's again, it's the structure, right? You get all that structure in place, and then you're able to have like the flow in your business. So
yeah, and having somebody tell you that is so much easier too, when you're like, here's what you have to get done, and you're like, okay. I got it. And plus, she has the templates all on her site too. She's going to go over which ones you need, which ones you don't need. And she has templates on her site, which makes it 10 times easier. It's like,
oh yeah, yep. Just download, do it yourself, insert your company name. You're done.
done. So easy, so easy. Sherry also commented, okay, Christine said birthing date realistically can be September 1st.
Awesome.
Great. We witnessed you in that date. Love that. It makes me think of that perfectionist issue. Sherry says, birthing is never perfect, but you love your baby anyway. And she will always be something you continue to pour into.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's so great.
That is. And then like, yeah.
And the birthing process in and of itself is never perfect, right? Because we have these birth plans that we go into it with. And it doesn't always work out exactly the way that you think it will. And it's being that flexible and resilience and see it through anyway.
Yeah. Sherry is also for accountability. She says she's working on new formulas. I will birth 5 of them. Woo, woo.
All right.
That woman, I love it. By the end of our working meeting on Thursday.
Yes. Cool.
And yes.
So good.
I love it. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Cannot wait.
I'm for our working meeting. We're going to get all the things done. Great. Well, with that, beautiful, powerful, intelligent, strong, fierce, wild women. I like that you did. Oh, you're so great. We are going to sign off for the day. Keep working on that list of all the things that you're putting off. I think this really having those lists and looking at really supports, getting stuff done. It can really be a game changer. So you can be at the beach or wherever it is. Like, I mean, it's really helped me. I mean, I'm in a van now literally down by the water.
I love it.
I never knew I would turn into Chris Farley when I was older, but here I am. And structures have definitely helped that happen, or else this would literally be an empty van.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Love it. All right. Cool.
Beautiful. see you all very soon and on Thursday.
Yep. Bye.